So I am super happy to introduce the very beautiful Lisa Rhoads today. Lisa has so many strings to her bow. It's really hard to put into, into a few words. Creator, like you say, creator, entrepreneur. There's researcher, and you're a fascinating person with so much knowledge in so many areas, and it's really exciting to chat to you today, Lisa, and just to reconnect. And I would love to hear, because you were just recently on the tour with the group of people that were going to Morocco, such as Mark Attwood, Ian Welsh, Abby Wynne, was that her name? Was
Wynne,
Honey Golden was there
Honey
too?
Golden,
Yes.
Antonia Harman, Anya. Yes, wonderful group of healers. Yeah.
Yes. And so, we're in Australia here, and I wanted to sort of touch base with you on that, because then it feels like we're sort of somehow energetically aligning and we're unifying our energies, because being in Australia, it's a bit more hard. It's harder to get over there. It's a much longer way, and there are complications too at the moment with travel and everything, as we know. So I'd love to hear about that journey and the adventure that you had, and connecting with these wonderful people. And a shout out to them all that we here in Australia that are interested in this evolution of humanity, and that we're interested in the awakening. We feel like we're connecting with you, so this is just another way for us to connect by doing a video and chatting to you about it. So tell me, how did it all go?
Great, Medyhne. Well, first of all, thank you for the nice introduction, and thank you for having me back again. It's great to hear your voice and be in your energy and your smile, which is so infectious. So thank you so much for that. I always love speaking with you. Morocco was, I think, for every one of us who participated in this trip, was magical and just transformative in ways that we wouldn't have thought about in the beginning. It started out as Mark said, I'm going to, my daughter wants to go to Morocco. I lived in Marrakesh. We should do this trip. And he pulled together a journey that got us from Marrakesh down to almost Algerian border of Morocco. And we traveled together and explored, we're at a camp together and met beautiful healers, which was really spiritual. But what was really beautiful about it is that everyone, when they introduced themselves, all knew immediately, we're going to go, and really didn't have a question about it. We're going to do this. And we came from UK, Ireland, America a little bit. We had one Australian there. So
really?
Australia was represented. Yeah, a woman named Jacqueline. She's wonderful. And she was quite an experience there. But everybody was such a beautiful spirit. And Mark pulled together an incredible team of healers. And what was wonderful is that the healers actually got together, and they amplified their powers together and started doing things that were for the benefit of humanity and to alter things. And we collectively were focusing in on our energies to support where we are in this process. So we had Honey did a great seminar in the beginning, where she just outlined once again how Dolores Cannon framed it out, that you had the scouts that came in, you had the warriors, we're now at the place where the healers, and then you have the builders. And each one of those different groups have a different role, and people bridged over a couple of them, but we didn't all need to know the same thing. And there was a sense of understanding where each of us fit into that, because this was a group of people that came together with healers, and understanding that, the white hats in the military have been doing the heavy lifting, the really tactile third dimensional work, whilst the healers have been in the background ready to take over. And there was this focus of saying, how do we help the white hats hand over the baton? And we were doing all of this. I'm getting the chills saying it, hand over the baton. And energetically, we were focusing in a lot of energy to do that. And I think there has been some shifts based on that collective consciousness coming together.
Oh my gosh, I've got to tell you this. This is so interesting. I got guided it was last Tuesday, to do a healing with my soul healing group online for the all the military and all the white hats that were doing this work behind the scenes. We got guided to do that. So collectively as a group, we sent them healing as well last Tuesday, and that seems to be energetically time-wise in alignment with what you were guided as well. So isn't that synchronistic?
Yeah, and that was what was so fascinating and the beauty of the trip, because it was all of that collective work and then collective healing, where most of us came together and really started to open up and look at all these alternative forms and understand how important this was and how important taking that energy was to do that. But I think there was a really big understanding collectively of what the white hats have gone through, knowing that they actually don't know a lot of the spiritual side of what we do, and that coming together and supporting one another was really, really important. I'm so excited to hear you had that same thing.
Yeah,
I'll bring that back to everybody. I think that's exciting.
So cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And were there many people too in terms of numbers? How many people were involved?
It was close to 50 people.
Wow.
It was a really great sized group where a lot of diversity, and all of us came from very different perspectives, but it was probably the first time that everybody in that group knew that you could just speak openly about your experiences of spiritual growth.
Yeah.
And I think tears came to so many people's eyes. I mean, I'm one of them, to know that you didn't have to hold back or be conscious of what you were saying. You just know that this is my truth and I'm saying it. And everybody was just so open to it. It was beautiful. Just beautiful.
That is such a beautiful liberation to be able to speak freely in that way. I was chatting to some people just the other day, and we got onto the topic of this, and they were saying that they understood on some level that it was, a depopulation agenda, but they don't really want to live that long anyway, and just the way they were talking, it's like, and I've heard so many people say that, oh, well, who wants to live long anyway, whatever will be, da, da, da. So they have an awareness that this is not good, and that it can contribute to, lack of longevity, short-term, life. But it's like that lack of appreciation of living and of life and of the gift that it is to be able to be alive, and to how we need to honor that and treasure that and preserve that. And you're talking to this consciousness, and it's like really it just feels so deeply uncomfortable, because the consciousness of what you're hearing is so out of resonance with what you relate to, and it just feels weird. So that feeling of being able to talk to, like spiritual family, your spiritual tribe, where you're able to just freely say the things that are your authentic truth, and then they feel exactly the same things, that is just such a powerful thing to be able to do.
Well, it's interesting, because when you say that freedom to say, when you don't have the freedom to say things, you end up just closing off, and you become more and more isolated. And I think so many of us who have been sort of progressed on this spiritual journey have felt that deep sense of isolation.
And let me tell you, yes.
Yeah. And I think this experience, so many people were just so surprised about how liberating it felt to connect with people and truly connect, not this sort of fake superficial level. That I think was the magic of what it is.
That's right, because you're connecting on that heart vibration, aren't you? It's not just the mind. The mind is that sort of
Yeah.
that superficial, but it's that heart vibration that you're connecting
Yeah.
from, that more of that loving warmth
Yeah.
and emotional base, as well as
Yeah.
everything else. And what I'd love to share with you, it's really interesting. I'm just going to see if I can bring it up on the screen here. 1 second. Is something that a lot of healers are feeling at the moment. And so I thought I'd share it with you, because it really sort of stood out when I read it. And I mean, I am living on an island, so probably encourages it as well. But there was this thing that I saw that I thought, wow, so many healers, light workers are saying this to me at the moment. Let me just share it with you. It's a quote from a shaman, and I don't know specifically the name of the shaman, but here it is. And this is what we're talking about. Can you see that there? It says,
Yeah.
you're about to see a lot of highly intuitive people go into hermit mode, or just not willing to be as open as they used to be. Spirit is calling for us to be very selective with whom we share our gifts and visions. Something big is happening. So it's that sort of collective feeling of just preserving your energy. So it's like a protective thing, a defensive thing as well. But it's also a thing where you're building your inner foundation and sort of going into a place where, you know, for the things to come, we have gathered our energy and we're prepared for, you know, the intensity. I mean, even when you look at all the adverse reactions and deaths that are now happening in relation to this, you know, that are happening now and will potentially in 2023, unless there's something else that comes into play, more of that's going to be happening. Then how do we deal with that? You know, we need to sort of fortify our reserves and our abilities. And I think that that thing of coming into a quiet space and a sort of like a bit of a reclusive energy is in preparation for what's ahead. Is that what you're feeling?
Yeah, I absolutely. And that was such a beautiful, beautiful thing you just put up there. And that's really, truly what people are feeling. It's a preparation. It's almost like, you know, before you have a baby, you prepare, you go inside, you're very much, you understand that there's, you know, a big, big event that's going to happen. And I think collectively, all of us feel the big event that is really going to be happening with us. But we also know that it's important for us to have that right energy. We know that we have this responsibility. And I think that was another thing that the group coming together collectively felt that and understood that. And each person there, I think, was on the cusp of or already really knew the incredible power that they have. And just being able then to share it was really, really important. I think that's really a critical thing. But I also feel too that as we're moving forward with this, that we realize this knowledge that we've had is one thing, but going inside and being spiritual, it's now permeating everything. No matter what you talk about, what you do, spirituality is a correlate to it. And I think that's really beautiful and exciting right now. Yeah. So everything, you're starting to see this with the Q drops talking about ascension. You're talking about military intelligence. It's for humanity's ascension of consciousness. And these things are, you know, as you say, no matter what you do, putting that narrative out there, we are responsible and we are creating that positive narrative. And I think that's really where we are right now. And we have to have that strength of knowing as opposed to knowledge for information's sake, but it's the knowing of where we are right now.
Yes. And you know what, the first thing that came up when I heard you just say that was also, and I don't mean to be focusing on negative things, but it was a point that came up that I think is really important to mention, is that, you know, with what's happening with this procedure, people are on some level disconnecting from that spiritual and from the divine. And so as above, so below. So the people that have got the connection, and it's growing because we're getting these amazing frequencies coming down, and there's a lot of things shifting us to increase our spiritual connection. At the same time, there's another layer in humanity that are disconnecting more and more. So the ability to connect more and more, it's sort of do you see the polarity thing that's happening there?
Yeah.
Very
And as I think, if you go back to the two jobs, it's not for everybody. The ending is not for everybody. And I think also too, the thinking about that is that these are the choices we make, and we have to ground ourselves in that and bring everybody up as much as possible. And that is not necessarily going in your face and saying, you need to know this, you have to understand this. It's more about showing and doing and being that, which I think teaches people, because you're right, people do have an intuitive knowing now. They're learning that. But the choice is, do you ascend or do you do 3D again? Yeah. That's not the apocalyptic concepts that we were thought to believe. It's not a yay or nay. It's that, do you move to that next level, or do you feel like you need to do this again? And no answer is wrong. No answer is wrong. That's right. And I think that's the beauty of like putting it into the warriors, the healers, we all need to heal. And right now, I think that's, we've come from this, I probably, I'll say for myself, don't really appreciate how much effort has gone into this military support, the warrior support. And it's not just the pure military, but the strategy behind how this has gone on. It's much more complex than we do. But right now, our job here with humanity is to heal as many people and to release the trauma, so that all of those things, as we go through these energies that are coming in, that we have the ability to process them, and everybody moves forward with the least amount of difficulty as we possibly can. And to me, that's really exciting. Really exciting.
Really exciting. There's nothing that's pushed us to drop the baggage ever before than what we're going through now. If there's ever a motivation to really grow and evolve, it's this moment. And there is also, and I will say here, from all the people I talk to and the people that I know, there is still a very strong aspect to many people where because they're not seeing what's happening with the military, and they're not seeing the White Hats, they don't think anything's happening. They don't think it exists, and so they think it's just some sort of a psyop or something that is just an illusion.
I know.
And so many people say that to me as well. So also energetically, and I say, look, I intuitively feel there's a lot going on underneath. It's just we aren't able to see it, because it will mean that they can't move forward with what they're doing because it will be saying.
I have to say that I've been starting a channel called Question the Narrative, and I'm like, I said, one of the questions is like, why in the US has everybody else been protesting and we're not? And so you have to question these things, and you question what's going on. But then the other part, as I was saying, and I think when you say the word psyop, it reminds me of this other question I've had, and I've been sharing this around, which is Q really a psyop? But a psyop from the most positive perspective, because we think of that word as highly negative, but everything has a good and a bad side. We're in this dimension of polarity, and the positive of the psyop, could it be that Q was to do exactly what people are saying, to be hope, and to help those who woke up early to be in a orderly, civil approach as we move toward that ascension?
Absolutely. And the other thing that it's doing, it's making people look a bit more deeper into things, and to sort of look underneath the surface level and look at the underlying meanings and underlying information that isn't always presented in your face. And that can only be a good thing, because it's making people perceive reality in a different way, like a deeper way.
Yeah. Yeah, and everything we do, it's like you have to question, everything, every, piece of information and piece of news. Because what I think has been the real genius, and I don't say it as a positive genius about the mainstream media, is that there's always just enough truth in their news
Mm,
that it's believable,
mm.
but it's not the right interpretation.
That's right. And it's and yeah, they're not silly, are they?
No,
The,
they're
the
quite
MK Ultra, the
the
MK
evil
Ultra.
genius, right?
That's right. That's right. I know what they're doing. The MKL
Yeah.
programming, it's the most sort of comprehensive and widespread psyop that you can think of, isn't it, really? Because it's messing with everyone's psychology and getting them on a certain narrative and a train of thought that is working at conscious levels and unconscious levels. So
Exactly. Yeah, and we fill in the dots, and it's like, we look at these things, and it's like, prices are increasing, energy is increasing, everything is happening, yet the numbers underneath don't match the narrative. And that's why you're right. It's like, question everything. And that is the psyop. And that's actually what Q has taught us. And so it is a psyop, but a psyop in a positive way.
yes.
And it's also helping us understand, and because I think they put that little thing about spirituality and ascension in there, just enough to say that's not a coincidence. That to me, that's a clear indication of like, we're ready to ascend.
You know what I think? I think with the Q drops, that they and it could be to do with the Project Looking Glass and all that sort of thing that they say it's coming from as well, but and the galactic sort of overview of knowing what's going on, but it aligns with the collective consciousness when it comes out, and it's like the perfect thing for the collective consciousness at that time.
Yeah. That's true. That's really beautiful. No, it's really interesting. And I love that, it's like the trip in Morocco, like other events now, that people are starting to get together, and we realize this power that we have. This is so exciting.
Oh,
It's really,
that's the first time, really, humanity is starting to even just glimpse the true divine, infinite source energy that we are. And yeah, first time it's in humanity's history, and it's just a glimpse at this point. We haven't even opened the door, really.
I know, but that's what's really fun. We're learning so much,
Yes.
which is really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But going back to what we were doing in Marrakesh, there's some beautiful healers doing really interesting things. And I'm happy to give you links to everybody, but they're wonderful. They were not only incredible at what they do, but so generous in their time, and shared it with every person there, which I thought was beautiful. So every one of them tried to make sure that they helped every single person that came on the trip, which was
every person would have gone on like a real inner sort of personal and spiritual journey through that process.
Yeah. So, we have this, less than 10 days, 8, 9, 10 days there. And each of us, I think, went through this massive healing and transformational process, because we were so lucky. And not only were the healers, everybody in the group also had something to give to people as well, which was really, really nice. Really, really special. Yeah, I can see this happening again. And I hope that others in this community who are amazing, as they start talking about doing things, I hope they do that, because I think it really is special, because people get to know each other. And that's really good.
Definitely. There's nothing like that direct, like energetic human contact as well, I guess, or it concentrated over that period of time. That's really beautiful. Well, from Australia, we're energetically, connecting with that and with what was happening. I was following the journey, and Ian was posting a bit about it and sharing that. So that was lovely.
Oh my gosh. he was lucky because he and Sue, somehow their luggage got disconnected from them. And it's quite the story. The story is that, the luggage came out, they were all getting, taking out of the hotel and getting in these cars, the caravanning down to the desert. And, the luggage just didn't get there, but everybody has like a different story on it. But at the end of the day, there were mostly women on this trip, and everybody helped Sue, his wife, out with clothing. But Ian, he really had very little to do it. But he did have his dowsing rods, and he did have his camera, all his tech. But it was very funny and nobody cared because it was, we were in the desert.
Oh, that's funny. I wonder what the metaphysical reason for that was. I was interested. I'm sure Ian would know.
Ian wanted to buy some, Moroccan clothing, I guess.
That's true. Yeah. It's a very
great.
Amazing. You can buy a lot there, can't you? And the colors and everything. I'd love to go to Morocco. It would be incredible. The markets and the energy and the aliveness and the people. What were the people like there in Morocco?
Oh wow. But really beautiful. We were listen, we had a beautiful sort of escorted journey. So we started off in a hotel in Marrakesh that, because Mark has people there that he knows. And then we drove in cars, and the drivers were just amazing. In fact, I was just thinking of the driver that I had, Faid, and he was such a beautiful spirit, kind and gentle. Like you always went in the same car. So he became like your friend. It turns out that he not only drives, and he is a Berber. So he's in the desert, but he lives in Marrakesh, and he does this work. He's also a beekeeper. And we were talking about honey in the type of the trip. And I said, and all the medicinal properties of honey. And in Morocco, honey is a core health food ingredient. Like there are eye drops with honey in them. When you think about it, bees accumulate all these different elements from plants, such as the herbs that we get from all these different plants. And that's why it's such a beautiful medicine. And I said, I just love that. And I told him how I used to, with I didn't know what I was saying, but I knew that if I told my daughter and she believed it, and it's become true, is that, honey and lemon will cure if you have a cough, because we weren't doing this. And he goes, "You're so right." And the next day he comes, he gives me this jar of honey, and that's from his bees. And I'm like, and so I'm texting him back and saying, I can't wait to come back, because now we found this pottery and we're doing this. But that's how warm the people are. Like we talk about something, and the next day it's like a person who's like driving for us, who's just doing great, who's working, but think like that, to be so generous and so kind. And I think that is just exactly how everybody is there.
Sometimes the less people have, the more giving they are, aren't they? The more open-hearted they are.
Amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. Yeah. And it felt really nice, because we would sit on the campfire in the desert, which was truly magical. And they would bring in this music, these musicians, Berber music, which is beautiful. And that was like a spiritual thing. And the Berber drumming, wow, it's like a mantra, a frequency that you get out of it.
Maybe I'll leave a link below to some Berber music. We can research that and leave a link below.
No, it's good. Actually, it's been going through. There's a Telegram channel, chat group amongst all of us that are in the group, and people are really, first of all, everybody's still connected, and then also the people have been sharing things like the music that everybody loved, and it was great. It was really interesting.
There's also something about the energy of being in a desert too, because the desert is just like emptiness, it's clearness. And so it really encourages you to not connect to the external, but to actually go within, to go inward. And there's something really special. I know in Australia, the desert, I know quite a few healers that have gone to the desert so that they can go into that massive open space and just be with themselves, at the deepest level. And I think there's something that really encourages that spiritual journey, isn't it, by being in a desert in that way?
Absolutely. And I think the energy healers really felt that there was something very special in the desert. People have known about it energetically. I know Ian felt it. I know Honey and Abby felt it as soon as they walked into that area. It was really special, and people were just, they really felt connected and open.
Beautiful.
And you really, and there was like this transition. So we drove out of the desert, and the woman who ran the camp, she goes, "You're going to have to know that there is a transition when you leave. You're going to feel the difference."
Yes.
And it was very true.
What was the
People really
difference?
felt
What
it.
was the palpable difference for you?
Energetically, you actually feel a sadness, like a loss for leaving that desert,
Oh, how interesting.
which
Yeah.
was interesting because it's harder to live there. You had to bring water in, the water had actually a saltiness to it. The power would go in and out. It was just harsher, but you felt a loss after leaving it.
Wow. You know, where I live here on the island, I notice a huge difference when I'm on the mainland. There's this sort of like a very busy, frenetic energy, and it's like go, 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 and there's a pace to it, and it's faster and that sort of thing. And I'm living on an island, and you can just feel this huge shift energetically when you come back to the island, that everything just drops down so many notches. It's just really low key, and it's slow, and there's an aspect to it, interestingly, that you have less motivation to do things because it's so much more chilled and so much more relaxed, and it's slower. But it must be extremely good for you because it's deeply relaxing. So yeah, I notice it in that way here with the energies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was very special. It's just everything was just a little different. You've just felt a connection that you don't always get in other places.
Wow.
But that's why I think you do it. I mean, you walk up and down these sand dunes, and in the morning, the sand is really cold. And when you go out in the afternoon, it's burning hot, but you like get to see these vistas. You're like walking on mountains of sand. And then we went on camel rides going over that, and you see these beautiful languid creatures, plodding through the sand. And you're like, how do they do that without falling? Because I mean, these sand dunes were really high.
Yeah.
It was so fascinating. Yeah, it was gorgeous. It was
That
really
would be
fascinating.
amazing. What an experience.
Yeah.
What do you think, if you can share it, you may not want to, but what do you think was your personal learning on that journey?
I think it was more about realizing that I do have this power, that I am this powerful creator, and that I have a connection with people, because I too have felt that isolation of not a feeling that, yes, I hear people on YouTube or Rumble or whatever these channels are talking about these things, but there are only a few of us. But to be with a group of people like that, I didn't feel so isolated. And then I also feel like there were these healings that were going on, releasing of trauma that you don't realize you have, and that we all have. And it's just like I was peeling off another layer of that, I think, which was really great. Yeah,
absolutely. I did a session with someone actually even just yesterday, and it was about going into, and I do sessions with clients like this too, but just to give people that are listening a tip to just really go into your body and find where there's like a sort of a solidity or a concentration of energy that's like heavy, like a ball, or like a knot or something in your energetic field, and go in and really tap into what that is, and really work on releasing those knots in the body, those concentrations of energy that are where the energy is not flowing, and just go into those and feel, and the way that you can really do that so successfully is to go into the emotions of it. You don't even have to know the meaning behind it, or understand at a mental body level what it is, but just to feel what that emotion is, allow yourself to feel it, and through allowing yourself to feel it, it can dissolve that concentration of energy that really is there. In a sense, it's no longer serving you. So that's just one way you can do the energy work at the moment, to really shift stuff that is shadow stuff, or stuff that is old baggage that we no longer need to carry. Yeah.
And I think also too, it's like, you know, that there are people who will help you do these things, that you're not alone, and that you can sometimes, you know, you need to rely on yourself for a lot. You're strong, but it's also good that you have others and you can pull it together.
Absolutely.
But what you were saying just before, I thought it's so powerful. And I actually did something like that last night. I had traveled back from Miami back to New York from a couple days of a conference and business meetings. And then, you know, was exhausted. And I promised a friend we would go out to there was a party that she was throwing for a birthday. And I was coming back late at night after having sat on planes and conference rooms and being cold. And my back, I could just feel like the left side of my back was really tensing up and freezing. I was like, and I said, okay, that really hurts. And I'm like, you know, I'm going to say in 3 breaths, that's gone. Took the breath in, breath out. Second one, even deeper and out. And the third one, and it was released.
Brilliant.
It was
Well
released. And
well
I'm like,
done.
That's really, you know, that was part of what, like you say, what it is like. I know that I have the power. It's not like, oh, I need to go to a doctor, or I need to go to some massage. I need to go do this. It's like, no, I'm creating that,
exactly.
and I can release it.
Absolutely.
And I was like, wow.
That's brilliant. Well done. You know, so much of what we're feeling at the moment, actually, I find is just energy. And in the same way that it manifests and it can be there, it can just as simply leave. And it is always, just for me, pretty much always energy. Whatever happens in my body, I go, oh, that's some more energy. And then I know that I need to do something to connect with it, and to shift it, and to clear it. And even, like you say, just asking, that's brilliant. Well done. You know, there's another technique where you can, if you resonate with the Christ consciousness energy, you can just ask the Jesus Christ consciousness energy to heal the wound at a soul level that you're holding in that area, and to transmute that. And that's a beautiful technique. I work with that with clients as well a lot. So yeah, there's so many ways that you can do that. Yeah,
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So Medyhne, what are you doing? What are some of your next projects that are coming up? Tell me about you.
Okay. Well,
turn this around. Sorry, I'm excited because I think you do great things.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Well, I've got a few different things on the boil. I'm just, so that people know, I have a couple of Christmas offers at the moment that I'm offering, mentoring services for next year at a super discounted price for 10 weeks of mentoring, which is pretty much like less than half price if people pay up till Christmas. And that's 10 sessions of mentoring to really work on all the different aspects of your life over those 10 weeks. And we can work on whatever presents at that time when people come to the session. So that's really exciting. And then I'll put the details below. And then I've also got you know, some beautiful gift voucher offers for sessions for clients at the minute. So I've been working with that. So if people want to get a gift voucher for a loved one or themselves, you know, it's again very discounted for Christmas, and the links below. So I'm doing all that, and then I'm doing obviously my, you know, YouTube channel, oh, I wasn't really going to say too much.
I just wanted
but I will share. I'm very excited. I haven't announced anything yet, but I am working on a project with a filmmaker to do with a documentary movie about the Golden Age. And so yeah, that's super exciting. We're putting together some initial storyboard ideas for what we're working on, and it's going to be, you know, I like to focus on words for what it's going to bring, and things like inspiring, empowering, uplifting, informative, allowing people to watch something which expands their own thinking about how they want to be in the golden age, how they want to be in their future going forward. You know, what for them is the ideal utopian vision of what they want to live in as a soul. You know, how would they like their life to look? And it can come down to small things, you know, small details, or it can be, you know, the bigger picture. But the more that we all focus on this, the more we all co-create it happening in this now moment, and draw it down through the timeline into the now moment. So to me, there's not a lot more important than us collectively envisioning what it is to be now in the energy and the age and the reality that we want to create.
Wow, that's really exciting and really powerful. You're right. If we don't imagine it, it's not going to happen.
That's right. That's right.
I love that. That's
Oh,
really, wow, good news.
That's my 2020, 2023.
Sorry, but that's exciting. That's really, really exciting. I'm really glad to hear that. Wow. That sounds like there's just a lot of, I think people are doing a lot of exciting things now around the world.
This is so true, because and that's another thing I'm noticing, that people's spiritual soul missions are now really becoming more obvious, and people are getting the calling to step into them. And this is a divinely aligned timing thing, which also raises the frequency of us individually and the frequency of humanity right when we need to. So if we're going, for example, into a really intense time where we have to face a lot of things that are coming up as we transmute the darkness, then it makes sense that at the same time we're energetically aligning to things that really raise us up into the new energies, and allow our frequencies to be vibrating at a high level.
I love it. I think that's really true. And that's the most important thing right now. That's why each of us are so critical, you know, with this energy, knowing that we're awake for a reason. And it's really for the benefit of everybody. It's a benefit for us, but it's a huge benefit for all of humanity. So this is the purpose.
Absolutely,
really
absolutely. Good. Well, you know, I would love to, you know, get any of your ideas or contributions on that, on the golden age, or what you would like to see. If there's anyone out there that has important, you know, visions or ideas of what they would like to see in something like that, please contact me and let me know, because I've already had some feedback from people, and everything that people have sent to me, we're looking at. And you know, some people, for example, have mentioned the importance of the children, and seeing what it is that the children are envisioning, and their energies, and how their energies relate to this new golden age, and you know, all sorts of different things people have been mentioning that are, you know, all we're taking a lot of time to look at everything, you know, so that we do something that really relates to people, and it is a response to what people are really wanting and needing in this world at the moment in order to move forward. So and I think that relates to all soul missions. So it's like you're actually seeing what is the need out there, and you're striving to meet that demand of what humanity's wanting, and they're the things that are going to really do well, because there's an energetic you know, thirst for what you're presenting.
That's really, really important. You know, the thing that I can think of right now, and I've been envisioning this for a while, it's certainly not in the same level of what doing with the children, but it's more about how we travel, the way we travel. And how much more accessible, like, you know, as you're saying that, you know, we did this trip in Morocco, and it's hard if you're in Australia, you're so separated, that none of us should be separated from each other, because there is this transportation system that already exists underground, and it's been held back, and we'll be living in different lives, you know, a different life. We won't be stuck in cars and traffic, which I think has been one of the things that has been a real negative to create a lot of negative energy for humanity. But I think travel, and I envision that, and I say, you know, I could see myself going to Asia for a day, going back and forth, because I live between Europe and the States, that being a very easy thing to do. And from that, just being able to go back and forth, the fact that people in Italy would know how much freedom people in the US have in order to create their lives, then it would change. So by travel changing and having freedom and not worrying about getting to an airport, going through security, knowing that those things aren't important, just that freedom, I envision that to be an incredible way for us to become more connected.
That is a brilliant point. That could be a whole section in the movie, in fact. And, that leads us to the core issue of what is true freedom? What aspects of our life would be impacted if we were truly free in all areas?
Wow.
And that whole concept of what is freedom is a really powerful one as well. And, potentially something to be explored, because we haven't really had it before. And so on many levels, unconsciously, we don't know what it is. We don't know how it feels to be truly, truly free, and I think that being able to hold the vision of that and hold the energy of that is really important as we go into the golden age, because if we don't have a sense of that within us, we can't see that reflected back to us in the external.
Yeah, I'll give an example, because I think this is a really important point you raised, that you look at the countries that have been subjected to communism in Eastern Europe. Once a generation goes by, that next generation doesn't understand what they were missing. And they cannot envision what it's like to actually create their own lives, because it's a responsibility to create your own lives, but that's what freedom is. And it's really hard to go back. So if you can't see it, you can't do it. And if you're raised in a world where with families that haven't shown you freedom, how do you know what freedom is?
Exactly.
And we now have to teach that. So I think that's a really, really important question you're asking.
Thank you so much. I do think it's just really crucial. And, these are the sort of metaphysical concepts that people also need to consider, when it's not just the outer things of, oh, we need to do such and such. It's having that internal shift as well that goes with the external. And when I traveled, when you were talking, then I was thinking of when I went to different countries, I would look at the dogs, and some countries, the dogs would look really like they'd have a haunted look in their eyes, because they weren't honored and they weren't treated well. For example, when I went to Egypt, the dogs would look really woeful and really sad, and completely different energy. And then you go to dogs in Australia, and they're treated like royalty.
As they
should be. And they have this excited enthusiasm about life, and they're so bouncy. And it's a completely different spirit, a completely different energy. That's what I'm talking about, that shift in at a deep level, that energetic shift that you see in animals, depending how they're treated around the world.
That's beautiful. No, it's really interesting. And you're right. And it's all about the dogs are, they reflect what the humans are going through. So you're really saying what humans are going through in that country, which is really interesting, but you envision it. But I do feel like travel, and then this whole idea of freedom, those are really, really important points to consider with that. So would be really excited to share that with you further. It's a great project.
Thank you. Well, it would be wonderful to have you on board. We'd be honored to have you involved in any way. And it was so gorgeous to chat with you today. And we'll have to have another catch up again soon.
Yes,
and
we'll do that.
Just
and next time we'll talk a little bit more. We'll go back to the agricultural stuff, because it's starting to get underway. We're going to start with the projects that were there. So
yes, we didn't even touch on that, did we?
No, we'll do that next time.
That would be brilliant. I'd love to hear that. Yeah.
Right.
That is so important as well, in terms of going forward on the planet. And if you're anyone out there that went on the Morocco trip, we were with you in spirit, and it's so wonderful to hear about, your journey. And Thank you, Lisa, for sharing, because yeah, I
Oh,
feel in
my
some
pleasure.
small way that I was a little bit of a part of it just by
My pleasure. It's great, and would love to share more with you. So I'll give you some. We'll share some links, and hopefully people will get a chance to see all the beautiful healers and see what they've done, and get a chance to look at their work too, which is great.
That's fantastic. Okay, yep. Look in the description box below. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And Lisa, it's so beautiful to connect. Thank you.
My pleasure, and thank you so much. You have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Ciao.
Beautiful. Bye.
Bye.
I invite you to join my wonderful Arise Humanity global online Patreon community for $3 a month basic level. I share interesting resources, free gifts, discounted sessions, community chat meetups, a soul healing group sending healing to the planet, loved ones, and ourselves, and more. This is a warm, cohesive, spiritually aligned community to share important news and make connections. You can share business information and find a supportive network. We welcome you. Love, Medyhne. For more details, please visit our website, www.medyhne.com.